In the last episode, number 95, I told you about the three cardinal symptoms of burnout and what it looks and feels like to be in survival mode. The biggest risk to a person who's burned out, whether it's your direct reports, other members of the care team, even yourself, the biggest risk is suicide. We can't prevent all suicides. I'll tell you why in this episode. And I'll also give you a simple process to reach out to colleagues in distress that can truly save their life. Check it out. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Stop Physician Burnout Podcast, a physician leadership podcast where you will learn the skills so that we can join together and lead the charge to physician well-being. Skills to earn the respect of your colleagues in the front lines, skills to exercise true influence in the C-suite, and take back your job, your practice, your career, and your life. All of these tools have been proven effective in my 40,000 doctor physician coaching and training practice. And if I know one thing, I know you're super busy. So let's get started. So in the last episode, we talked about the three symptoms of burnout. Number one, physical and emotional exhaustion with the little voice in your head, perhaps saying, I'm not sure how much longer I can keep going like this. Number two, cynical, sarcastic, venting. Having to release energy in gallows humor about your patients that you're supposed to be putting first. It's a sign of exhaustion of your emotional energy account. And number three is, what's the use? My work's really not serving a purpose. I don't know why I'm doing this in the first place. And then the doctor, with their energy level way below zero, goes into survival mode, head down, a change in attitude and enthusiasm, dragging yourself through the day, just praying to get to the end. So maybe you can get some sleep tonight and maybe come back and feel better. And this kind of chronic burnout and survival mode can go on for a very long period of time. When I describe it like that, who are you thinking about? Who are you worried about maybe in survival mode and struggling right now? As a leader, it is your duty to make that list and promise yourself to reach out to these people. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Now, why do we say reach out to these people? And the reason is they're suffering. We've set up an EAP and all sorts of support services for people who are struggling and need some time to restore their energy accounts and recover from burnout. And fundamentally, we can't stop all suicides for a couple of simple reasons. Number one, doctors are trained and conditioned to hide their struggles, to hide their suffering. The second of the two commandments of our medical education after the patient comes first, the second one is never show weakness, never do anything to make anybody think you haven't got what it takes. And certainly asking for help, taking time off is one of those situations that we avoid. We avoid because we don't want anybody to think that we're not a team player and we don't have what it takes. So we're excellent at hiding our struggle and our suffering. The second reason we can't stop all suicides is doctors know the physiology and anatomy. We're really good at killing ourselves. So most of the time, when I talk to people about a suicide in the workplace, they will tell me they had no warning. Sometimes you do, and somebody failed to reach out to that person, but sometimes you have no warning. So what we have to pledge to do is to reach out to everyone who we're concerned might be in survival mode with a message of support. Let me show you exactly how you do that. First of all, make the list of names. Number two, when you look at the names, commit to reaching out to them. Number three, the setting for this outreach conversation must be completely private. Nobody that works with this person, nobody at all should be able to see or hear you having this conversation with them. So a glass wall, behind a glass wall in a nurse's station is not adequate because people can see you having this conversation. The first thing to do is as you walk onto the ward or wing or service, I hope that you've been there enough shadowing and rounding on your people that nobody thinks they're in trouble because you're showing up unannounced, because you're going to show up unannounced. So lay the groundwork by doing your shadowing, doing your rounding, so it's normal for you to be there outside of times when somebody's in trouble. And they look up to you and say, hey, Dyke, what are you doing here? Because you're there a lot. That's an important leadership habit that we'll talk about down the road. Next, when you walk in and you want to talk to, let's say his name is John, you want to ask permission. Hey, John, have you got a couple of minutes? Have you got a couple of minutes? And John says, sure, Dyke, what's up? Now, we're about to talk about something serious that is not run of the mill in the workplace. So what we want to do is take off our leadership role, take off our official role in the organization. So if I'm not a leader, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off my hat with my right hand. I'm right-handed. And I'm going to say, well, first of all, John, I'm taking my doctor hat off now. If I am a leader in the organization and I have a named leadership position, whatever it may be, let's say you're the chief medical officer. I would put my hand on my head and I would mime taking a hat off and I'd say, well, first of all, John, I'm taking off my CMO hat. So put your hand on your head with me right now. This is audience participation. Put your hand on your head like you're grabbing a hat and say, I'm taking my doctor hat off. And as you do that, make a big arc with your hand like you're taking a hat off. This is an energetic state change that changes the way the conversation's going to go if you take your leadership role off. And then say something like, John, it's just you and me here, heart to heart. I've been watching you and I'm concerned. I'm wondering, how are you doing? Now, when you say that to John, the most likely response you're going to get is, what's the word? It starts with an F, by the way. The most likely response you're going to get is he's going to say, I'm fine. And he may actually even have a little bit of heat behind that. He may say something like, me? I'm fine. Go check Cheryl. She looks like trash, man. What I want you to do is when you go into this conversation, because of our prime directive of never show weakness, you are very likely to get intense denial, like the second example there. What do you mean? I'm fine. Go check Cheryl. She looks terrible today, man. Leave me alone. That's okay. Expect intense denial. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Is it them or is it their programming? Yeah, it's their programming to never show weakness that usually prompts any sort of heated denial. But as long as you remain concerned about this person, I want you to be persistent and reach out again. Maybe you reach out to them every 2 weeks as long as you're still concerned about them. And do exactly the same thing in a private setting. Hey, John, you got a minute? John says, oh, what is it now? Well, I'm taking my CMO hat off. Oh, gosh, not again. And I'm still concerned about you, brother. How are you doing? And he says, I'm fine. Now, he may reject you every 2 weeks for a whole year. But what is the message that you're sending? What is the message that you're sending? And there's multiple messages you're sending here. Number one, I'm concerned. Number two, I'm here. Number three, I got a shoulder to lean on and I've got your back. If you need anything, let me know. You're sending a consistent message of awareness and support over time. And even if he never accepts your outreach, you may very well have saved his life with this consistent messaging. Now, just one last thing, and this is true of any good leader, you also want to know who's got your back as the leader who's reaching out. So you need to know your EAP, you need to know your hotline, you need to know the resources you have if this person says, yes, I need help, and reaches out and accepts your offer. You need to know where to take them, who to introduce them to, what numbers to call, so that you can hook them up with the EAP function in your organization. It needs to be a smooth handoff if they do say yes. So, reaching out to a colleague in distress is how you save lives. It's how you send the message that we are a team and a tribe. I've got your back, and we've got ways to help you out no matter how alone or scared or struggling you may be. So who's on your list? When are you going to reach out to them? When are you going to reach out to them? Because as a leader, protecting the integrity of the tribe of light workers, it's imperative that you do so. This protocol has worked for thousands of people I've coached to do it over the last 14 years, and I encourage you to reach out to the folks that are on your list. That's it for today. Until you hear me or I see you in the next episode, keep breathing and have a great rest of your day.